Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. If you're a longtime listener, you'll recognize Melody. I believe this is her third time on the podcast. Don't quote me on it because after all these, it just goes in one ear and out the other from how many appearances were. But I honestly do not like her at this point because she decided to do a podcast outside so that we could see, the beautiful landscape around her. So it's just making me even more depressed as it is. It's like 40 degrees here and she's in, San Diego, where, like I've mentioned many times, my brother lives there. And it just seems like a great place to be. But yeah, she's on here to just talk about what she's been up to, and she's decided to take a step away from competing. And yeah, we're just gonna get into that and talk all about that. But most importantly, Melody, thank you so much for coming back on.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Well, I'm gonna say screw weather. I mean, like I said, I normally just say that now anyways, but especially with you, where it's just like it's making me really sad right now. Before we get into that, what have you been up to? Because it's been a year and a half since we last had you on. What's been going on this last year and a half?
So as you know, I'm always honest and straightforward. So I'll just give you my life in a nutshell over the past year and a half. Decided to compete in 2023, do the Arizona Pro Show again. Last year proved to be extremely challenging. I probably should have tossed in the towel early on and didn't. I just kind of get stuck and just keep pushing forward and lost my my ex father in law in August of last year. And then a week before the Arizona Pro Show, I lost my dog of 17 and a half years. And then the night before I decided to, get in my car and drive to Arizona and compete, my long-term boyfriend, who I kind of felt was my forever, decided that the relationship needed to end. So that was the night before my show to Arizona, and so needless to say, my body had completely shut down. So anyway, I still competed, which was great, but then just been focusing on kind of, healing and moving forward.
You should just announce to everyone what you were going through, and they would have given you the sympathy first place.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been great. It's been fabulous. But you know
How
what? I'm here, so we're
Yeah.
good.
How did you do that? How were you able to step on stage after all of that? Because I know bodybuilders are mainly psychotic in a good way, but like still that's to the extreme. Still being able to step on stage after all that.
I just I felt like I had to go. I could have withdrew from the show because I it's up until check-ins that you can technically withdraw from any show. But I just felt like I did work that hard, and so I just grabbed a friend, and if she had not been there, I don't even remember driving there. I don't remember much of anything. But just I mean, suck it up and just go. But I do remember the feeling of just like crippling grief and uncertainty, and that you always, when you're away, you miss like home, and realizing in that moment backstage that my home for me no longer existed. And so it was a lot, but I felt like proud that I did all that despite how I felt. So, but yeah, it changed um, my whole passion towards bodybuilding. It was something that my ex and I really did together, and he pushed me to really compete and supported everything. And he's a great guy. No, nothing negative to say about him. We just went our separate ways. But so for me, that was kind of closure for that whole part of my life.
I'll say something negative about him because, guys, I don't care if you're dating one of these competitors. Do not break up with him the day before a show. Just wait until after the show, like a gentleman. Come on, or don't do it the day before. Come on, at that point, you got to wonder if he's like trying to like if he's making side bets or something like that on who's gonna win, and then he's just trying to sabotage you or something. Because like, don't do it the day before, guys. Just wait until after the show, or do it, right before the prep starts. I'll say that'll be my bad thing that I'll say about him because it's like, yeah, that's like the guy that breaks up with someone the day before Valentine's Day.
Yeah, but I will say that just because timing for me was bad doesn't mean its timing for him was bad. So, I'm a very understanding person.
Well, geez, anyone out there listening? I mean, if you have someone who's that understanding, good God, everyone, just you should probably be getting like 500 DMs after that, Jesus. But no, that's that's a positive outlook to have. And I mean, and was it after that show, or how much longer before you decided that you were just going to step away from competing in general?
So I really did make the decision really that day. I kind of felt like I don't fit in. I don't feel like this is what I want anymore. And that whole prep was really challenging for me, and just the emotional turmoil with losing the ex-father-in-law, losing my dog, and then that. And yeah, I just felt like it wasn't as rewarding anymore. And I kind of got set into just going through the motions instead of really doing it for the reasons that I should have been doing it for. So I made the decision after I, kind of got settled after all that change when I returned from the show, that I would rather pursue other things in life and, travel and, just do different things that competing really restricts you from doing. Plus, I turned 42 what month are we in? April. So I turned 42, and I'm like, I'm getting old. Like, uh, I, I need to focus on other things.
That's the thing that shocks me because I would have honestly guessed like I'm 29. I would have guessed close to my age every time I have you on. So just know that at least that you have that going for you, because trust me, I've talked to some people that are my age and they look 42. So it's a good problem to have, I guess, Melody. But
Thank you.
just how did you deal with the mental change of just mixing up your whole life and just going on a different path? Because I know especially how draining the sport can be mentally and physically, but when you don't do that, a lot of times people struggle to find, especially at first, they struggle to find ways to placate how much time they spent and just find other ways to use it.
Yeah, so that's been a little bit of a challenge for me. I'm not going to lie, because I am very active. So the gym for me is, since I'm not competing anymore, is not really that rewarding. Um, which is weird, but you would think there wouldn't be that change. It'd still be an outlet, but I go and I kind of do whatever, and it's like, it's not really fulfilling anymore. So I'm currently seeking what my next kind of hobby physically will be, um, to kind of help that unstable, I should say, with not having that goal of competing, because very I'm very driven, and I need something physical to kind of distract me, I guess. So I'm looking into, and I think I would be really great given how I've taken up this hob or this interest in like just pull-ups, because I do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pull-ups a week because I just love it. So with my upper body strength and the fact that I really haven't gained any weight since my show, which has never happened because usually I gain like 30 pounds, I'm going to start pole dancing because I think I would be great at it, because I've got the upper body strength, and they do have competitive pole dancing. And who knows, since I still look young, maybe it can be an extra revenue for me. I'm kidding.
I mean,
I would.
you are in Vegas, so I mean, let's be completely.
I wouldn't. I work in HR. I would never do that. But I
In
think it would be
Vegas,
fun.
In Vegas, I thought that was a prerequisite to be in HR is that you had to be a pole dancer.
Nah, yeah, no.
No, I'm joking, everyone. But no,
I know.
I was gonna say you are. I wasn't really aware until you told me that. Like, yeah, you do pull ups all the time. Have you always been the pull up queen? Has that always been like your thing ever since you started
No,
training a lot, or?
no, not at all. I actually really avoided them or only did assisted. Not like there's anything wrong with that, but no, I just thought, you know what? I started just doing them, and I really liked them, and I would do, about 100, 150 a day. It like during my workout, just thrown in with just different stuff. So then it became like a challenge for me of like, all right, can I do five, six, 700 a week? So started doing that, and then moved into weighted pull-ups. But no, I just really enjoyed it.
How quickly do they improve? Is it like you're able to do a few more weekly, or is it a slow progression?
It was pretty quick, I think, because I don't really weigh a lot, so it was easier. But no, and because I really wanted to do it. I think it's all about the mindset. So I was excited to continue to increase the numbers. So yeah, it started with about 50 to 60 a day, and then I jumped it to like doubled it within probably only a couple of weeks. Just kept pushing. Doing. Like,
Must
I could do, five more, 10 more, 100 more.
Must be nice. That's all I'm gonna say. Must be nice to just be able to double it, in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I was gonna say, please don't be a CrossFit girl, which I'm
No,
glad you didn't say that because I was. That's why I had my fingers crossed. I was like, please don't say CrossFit. Please don't say CrossFit. So I'm glad you didn't say
no.
that.
I got back problems. I can't do CrossFit, but and no disrespect to CrossFit folks, it's just not my thing. My best friend actually, she's in San Diego with me, and she mentioned that we were talking about like, what are you going to do, Mel? What hobby do you want to do? And she's like, CrossFit? I'm like, "Oh my god, don't insult me like that." But no offense to them.
No, again, that's the only reason for me too is that my back is absolutely shot too, and the fact that like I'm not staying in a damn gym for 6 hours a day. I don't know
No,
how they do it. I don't know what goes on there. I
no.
just had one on from Australia literally last week, and it was one of those conversations where I'm just like, okay, these people are just so extra. And again, nothing wrong against them. I appreciate, and they
No.
obviously they put their work in and stuff like that. But it's like that is just such a hard lifestyle to live.
Yes. No. No. No.
Yeah. And just the mental toughness that you must have had to get through all this, where do you think that that comes from? Because a lot of people, when faced with your predicaments, would have just crumbled instead of finding a way to pick themselves back up.
That's just really not my makeup. I grew up in a uh, my ability to walk away from people and situations is unlike I think a lot of people, and to just process that internally, not let it affect me more than I mean, obviously it does little bits here and there, but the way I guess other people where they just are would crumble. I grew up in a family that was addicted to meth, and so I learned at an early age, this is not the lifestyle I wanted. This is not how you live your life. And so, um, being able to walk away from my family at a young age, just really taught me just to depend on myself, and that shitty situations, sorry, really don't last that long, right? They everything does pass. Time heals everything, and so just keep moving.
Were you ever, when you were competing, were you ever thinking that, like, hey, maybe this is my version of addiction as part of the family?
Nah,
No.
no, because I didn't let it get to that. No, for me, it was strictly just a goal that I wanted to accomplish because, as I had said, I think on the first time I was on your podcast, I was in a really bad marriage for a long time and wasn't allowed to compete and allowed to do certain things. So that was kind of my way of getting my independence back after I finally left that marriage of like, I can do this now. So, and then I just enjoyed it. And then when I no longer enjoyed it, I just stopped.
I still to this day quote your quote from the first podcast where you said that there's mainly three reasons why people get into this sport. The first one is because of a bad relationship or their husband eggs them on to do it or something like that. Second is eating disorder, and then I forgot. Normally I have the third one off the top of my head, but it was
Mhm.
another one that you gave me too. But I still quote
Yeah,
that to this day. But normally I have it down. But yeah,
yeah,
so I do remember that. But yeah, I mean, just because my family too, we have our own addiction things, but it's not,
yeah.
just other things too. So it manifests itself in other ways, but just being as active as you are, how do you deal with just other people? Because not that many people are that active. So I found when people are super, super active, they need to find other people that are really, really active. And that's more rare to find, especially these days.
Uh, yes. So, I have dated since that whole situation, and this particular individual was older than me, so 10, 11 years
30 years
older.
old, 30 years old.
No, other way. Yeah.
You're
So
really 29. Stop lying.
And I would just, yeah, I think it's going to be challenging for me to find somebody who has a similar lifestyle. And I don't need them to be super active. I don't need for them to, uh, but I obviously can't be bored in a situation or a relationship either. So I don't know. Who knows? Right now, I just need to focus on myself. And if someone comes along, great. If not, great. I don't know.
How have you adjusted to the fact that when you look in the mirror, you're not seeing really a bodybuilder that much anymore? As like you said, you haven't really lost that much size, but like just the whole mindset changes. How did you deal with the fact that like you work so hard on this look, but now you're not going to be seeing that look really that much anymore?
I don't even think twice about it, honestly, because that for me, that part of I've been saying now I can compete as a bikini competitor. Um, but no, I
You don't have
it def
veins on your veins. You couldn't compete as a bikini competitor.
oh, I'm still really vascular because I'm super lean. No, it's true. But no, I've always been one that I don't have any sort of you know, challenges with what I see in the mirror, even during my when I competed in off season or not competing. I hate the word off season. And then during competition prep, like I embraced all shapes, sizes, whatever. So I didn't fall into that, whole mental issue with body dysmorphia. And so I'm not susceptible to that now. Like where my body's changing and yeah, I'm probably losing some size, but I doesn't bother me any. Clothes fit better.
Yeah, hey, you always got to look at the positives with all this stuff. And you mentioned before we started recording that the sport has been getting more fake, and I couldn't agree with you more. But what, in your opinion, is the fakeness, and how is it getting worse in your opinion? Because I have my own theories as well.
Well, one, I think social media. As you know, I had deactivated my social media and then I reactivated it. Really because I went to a pool party with some friends last weekend, and one of the girls I met, I should have just given her my number, but she was asking for Instagram, so I had to reactivate it so she could follow me because my account's private. But one, I think social media. I just think that it is just so much pressure on online and virtual presence. And I know they say that doesn't impact the stage, but I tend to disagree quite a bit. So I don't like that. And I think that those who are put up on pedestals by a lot of people who aren't really in the fitness industry, but want to just get in shape, want to better their lives, are following people who are putting out such garbage. And they are just walking, they should be advertising for surgeons and not the fitness industry. So kind of that whole social media stuff, I just that's one big area for me, and I don't fall into that.
I just came to the realization that this whole sport is really just one big giant illusion, and
Yes.
it's not real. Like it's just like yeah, it took me a
Yeah.
while to really figure that out, but then like when you finally realize that, you're like, wait, this is all just fake. Honestly, like
Yes. Yes.
it's all just about
Yes.
that. So, and again, I love the people that I've talked to. I love the competitors. It's kind of like I compare it to like this thing. You could hate if you were in ancient Rome and you saw a gladiators fight. You could hate the gladiator games, but you could still respect the gladiators.
Correct.
Yeah, that's how I view it. Where I don't like the
Yes.
sport at all, but I respect the people that do it and go through it and do the stuff that they have to
Yeah.
do and stuff because it shows their hard work and dedication. But yeah, for me, it's like this whole sport needs such an overhaul that it would never happen. But it's like it's
Yeah.
only going to get worse and worse. And it's
Yeah.
we're on the Titanic. We've already hit the iceberg. Now it's just to wait and see how long until it sinks.
Yeah. Well, and I think too with like just the individuals pushing the envelope so much. And it is not a healthy sport, and that needs to be talked about. That needs to be the first thing that people talk about and really disclose, because it's not healthy. It's extremely unhealthy, and even if you're not doing a lot of performance enhancing drugs, just the diet, the exercise, the stress on the body, like there's just a lot of things that it's not healthy, and it really shouldn't be considered fitness. We are circus freaks. I'm no longer one, but circus freaks on the outskirts of sports is what we are.
Well, especially with like how already a lot of these people that compete in this sport have already like such low self-esteem a lot of times, and they're just so
Mhm.
easily manipulated by people too. Like I'm
Yeah.
honestly shocked that I got as many people as I got on the podcast in the first place, but it just I'm not taking it down to other people. I'm taking it down to the fact that I'm a normal person who actually enjoys talking to people. But like I I just realized too, it's like these people are so vulnerable too, and that's what makes me feel so sad that like they're
Yeah.
just so easily taken advantage of. And you know yeah, that's just my
Yeah.
whole thing too when I
And
just see
they're
that.
and they're not all like that. Like I have like Justin Harrell, my coach, and his competitors, like they are just super successful in their personal
Yeah.
lives, and just good people, and they don't abuse anything. And there are people that are doing this for the right reasons, but the problem is there's so few of them, that they get overlooked a lot of times, and that's what I didn't like.
And the biggest thing too is that they don't really have that as big of a social media presence. They don't have as much
Correct.
outreach. So then whenever people
Because they
see
don't
body
feed into it.
exactly, they don't get into it. They don't get into the drama and everything. So when people are looking for that, they will never find that. And then they'll just think that, oh,
Nope.
this sport is 90% just people who are just, freaks that just take this to extreme, when the people like you and a few other people that, and I know it. I've talked to a few dozen of them myself where I'm like, oh, these are like actually just like people that I would like actually hang out with then, because they're not just, taking things to such an extreme. But like, yeah,
Right.
they just don't post as much as they should. But it's gotten to the point now too where I just think with how extreme people are going, it's like this is going to be a funeral procession in a couple of
Yeah.
years, just because I I'm after learning how many protocols people go through and all that stuff, I'm honestly shocked that more people haven't died. And I've said that a million times, but I'm shocked that that hasn't happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Same. I've seen some crazy stuff, and I'm just like, do you realize you have one life to live, and the draw to possibly get your 5 minutes of fame in the bodybuilding world, uh, it's just very, I don't understand it. And I don't, again, you said mental health is a big thing, and mental health is a big thing within the bodybuilding community. And for exactly what you said, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for it, but I really don't care. It's you know bodybuilding, the ones who are really have their head on their shoulders, and they do well, and they do it for the right reasons, are the very few strong-minded individuals. The masses are just weak-minded individuals that are looking for surface level, you know, gratification for what they're doing, and willing to risk their lives for it. And it's just a shame.
You also described schmoes in about a sentence there, and I couldn't agree with you more on that too. And that's just a whole, god damn it, a whole different thing. But yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, it's just the wrong branding, the wrong messaging that they're getting out there, and it's just, yeah, I mean, the moment that I heard a bikini competitor say that she's on tests and she's 19 years old, and you're just like,
No.
I would just honestly want to just buy her a bullet, or buy her a bullet and send her a gun, and just be like, honestly, this will go just quicker then. I mean, because
Yeah.
you see that stuff, and then it just makes you lose all faith in everything. But hey, people are gonna do what they want to do, and it's just the
Well, a 19-year-old female doesn't need to be on it. Her test is in normal range. Like, testosterone for women is not unheard of. As you get older and you test it with, hormone therapy, it is a great hormone
what about
replacement
100
therapy as
milligram?
you
What
get
about
older.
100 milligrams of it?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
No, I
People
know.
people don't take the right protocols, and it's like,
Yeah.
you have to understand the long-term impacts it's going to have on you. And transition levels for females to male is like 200, 215. So if your test is well above that, like, you're doing irreversible damage to your body.
They were also doing Tren, Primo, and Anavar. So, that's
Yeah,
just, yeah, that's all this stuff. But again,
it's
like, people
nuts.
just don't realize, like, I've made this point before. And again, no shade at the compares, but if you were to test the compares before they stepped on stage, bodybuilding, physique, and a decent amount of the figure competitors at the Olympia, even some of the bikini competitors, their levels would come back, and they'd say, oh, this is a show of men. Like, this is a show with a bunch of
Yes,
men on stage. Like, it wouldn't say that they're female. So it's like, I just don't get how people don't realize that and be like, why are we promoting this then, when literally it shows that they're not a certain gender
right,
when they step on stage? I just don't get it.
right. Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, and I know, and the funny thing is, like, a lot of people talk about it, but like no one ever does any action about it. Like, you'll hear behind closed
No.
doors people like complain about it. And it's like, oh, I don't want to risk my career. I was like, really, your career is worth more than your life? Honestly, your bodybuilding career. Again, nothing against the sport, but I just,
No.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, and the sponsorships that people typically get are, they're not, I don't want to say they're not legitimate sponsorships. I do know that there are some, what do you call them? Nutrition or
yeah.
supplement companies and clothing, but it's like, you're not talking like sponsorships from Nike and Adidas and like legitimate. We're not sponsored athletes in that capacity. Like, and the amount that you're going to make from that, you're getting free products. Sometimes you might get paid a little bit, but come on,
Yeah.
it's not. And there are some, like, don't get me wrong, there are some who really do well and make a good living at it, and that's great. But it's not the masses, and that's what people need to understand, that it's the very select few in the industry. Just because you turn pro or just because you win a show does not mean that you're going to be successful in any capacity, and that's fine.
The successful ones for women are only basically the Olympia winners. That's really the ones that you
Yes.
can look at and be like, oh, okay, yeah, they're good. But like, yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just so much, honestly, that we
Yeah.
we could get into. But just the whole, I just don't know where it's gonna go. And again, I just, yeah, we could really get it. But like, when you're stepping back and judging the sport from an outside perspective, how much different was it from when you were in the sport and in the thick of it?
It's the same. I've always
Okay.
had the same perspective. That's never changed. I've always seen it for what it is. And yeah, my reason for doing it is, I have a career outside of bodybuilding. I never set out to compete in bodybuilding thinking that I was going to make it and be like, some big
In kindergarten,
sponsored
they're like, "What's
athlete.
your dream, Melody?" You're like, "It's to be a champion bodybuilder."
No, it was just a checkbox for me, and I wrote it as long as I felt I needed to. And met some great people along the way, but yeah, no, my perspective of this of bodybuilding is has not changed. And I actually have, talked to Sandy Williamson about judging, and she's amazing. I absolutely adore her. And I don't know, maybe after they see this podcast, they'll be like forever shunned. But I would still be involved in bodybuilding because I think I bring a different perspective. And I think it's one that's needed, but I would still, pursue maybe judging, not right now, but maybe in the future. They do like people, especially to have pros that have retired, be judges, just because, they know what to look for and things like that. But yeah, my perspective has not changed. It's always been the same when I was competing or not.
I blame Arnold, honestly, because the moment that Arnold went from bodybuilding to becoming the biggest movie star on the planet and then becoming a governor, everyone thought that, like, oh, if I just become a champion bodybuilder, I might have a shot at Hollywood. I might have a shot at success. People understand you're not Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was a 1 in a billion opportunity.
Yeah,
First of all, because he sounded like shit when he talked, and second of all, because because it was Arnold. Like, you're not going to get. There's no
yeah,
one else that's been able to duplicate that from bodybuilding. And I just think too many people see that and they're like, "Oh, he got to start in bodybuilding. Maybe that's a good way for me to get into stuff." And
yeah,
I've heard people literally say that and be like, "Arnold was the perfect concoction, and it could have only worked in the 1980s. No other decade is a guy like that going to become a famous movie star." And it's,
no,
yeah, it was just a perfect time
yeah,
for all that. So yeah, I blame that. But
no. Most of the females are just, and this again, I'm going to get a lot of hate for it. Each to their own. I do not judge. I had no disrespect. But with the OnlyFans, it's just online porn. It's like, and again, I know it's a source of revenue, and I have had offers, and I just can't do it. But I think the whole intertwine between the fitness industry and that is just it's just a lot. It's a lot, and I don't think it sends the right message to, uh, you know, the younger girls of upcoming generations.
I made an OnlyFans for 1 year during the pandemic, and literally everything that I posted on YouTube as well. So it was just literally just thumbnails of like people doing like a front elbow or something like that, or just like a 10-second clip of them doing that. And I got everyone's approval, and people freaked out. And it was hilarious when I was like, that is the least sexiest OnlyFans of all time. And like I only made like a couple $100 on it, but like it was so hilarious how like people were like, oh, you're using and abusing these women. And I was like, okay, I ask every single one of them ahead of time, hey, do you mind if I put like a 10-second clip of you just doing
Yeah,
that on? It was so hilarious. But yeah, I agree with you where it's like, and the people that I hate the most, we got to get rid of these people, are the men, or I mean, the women and some men that
mhm,
come to gyms basically wearing toothpicks and they're wearing like dental floss basically. And then they get upset when people stare at them when it's like, if you show up basically
yeah,
naked to a gym and get upset that people are staring, there's something psychologically wrong with you then.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I saw one at the gym like a week ago, and I'm trained by my girlfriend well enough where I just pretend not to stare, and I might get like one little eye in there, and then that's about it. But like it's gotten to a point where it's like there's peacocking, and then there's that. It's like that's got to stop.
Yes,
So
yeah, yes.
I honestly think if more guys did it, it would stop then, because then girls would realize like how embarrassing and how unflattering it might be. Like if all guys showed up in like a Borat thong or something like that to the gym, I honestly think that that would stop it in one day,
Um,
where everyone would be like, okay, we went way too far on this. Time to just restart. So
you should start that trend.
I'm still in my winter shape. I'm still in my 10 to 15 pounds of winter bulk that I'm starting slowly to work off. So I wouldn't want to
Perfect.
embarrass myself like that. Yeah, I know it's perfect, but yeah, that's what you have to deal with up there. But
Yeah.
what are your plans? Do you have any plans for the rest of the year? Where would you like to be at a year from now? Where would you like to be?
Um, a year from now. Oh boy. I'd like to do some traveling this year. I would like to I've got some, work career related goals that I'm working towards. I'm currently an assistant director for human resources for a hotel casino in Vegas, and so there's some real opportunities for growth and expanding my skill set and knowledge to kind of continue to progress in that. So career focus, some goals, and then yeah, as far as personally, I really think my main thing is just uh, figuring out like being alone and what I like and what I don't like, and really finding that fulfillment within myself. I mean, I was in a relationship for over 8 years that ended very, very quickly and unexpectedly. So naturally, that's going to kind of rattle your cages a bit and make you realize, okay, over the last 8 years, I've been so focused on a companionship and shifting that focus internally. So I think just really focusing in on that and like self growth.
I know you work at one of the hotels that Elvis was at. Do they have
Yeah.
locked off the room that he stayed in, or what do they do for that room?
No, no, we actually, you can tour it, you can stay in it. It's one of our villas. So they've actually renovated when the Hilton bought that property and back in the 1980s. They spent about $60 million to renovate that 30th floor. So technically, where Elvis lived is one of our suites, and we do call it. It's a Tuscany suite or villa. It's about a 15,000 square foot villa, one of the three that's up there. And so, yeah, it can be stayed in, and yeah, we do have that show, My Brother Elvis. That is is stepbrother. I should know this
Yeah,
because I
you know,
work
yeah, you
there.
told me
But
about him. You tried to get me in contact
yeah,
with. Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
yeah, and so that is also he takes you through like an intimate conversation about Elvis, and he was there when he died, and kind of like the tour of where he performed and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Well, I have a story to tell you off the record that happened to me, which you will not believe, which was incredible. And yeah,
I'm
I
excited.
can't do it I can't do it on the record because people would just be clamoring me
Yes.
for it. But something big happened, especially this last January. But anyway, back to this now. So when you are just looking at the past, 5 years of your life competing, is there a moment that you look back on and you have the most pride for in your competing history?
Um, I will say, uh, hmm, that's a great question. I think it would have to be my very first show that I felt like really freed from the chains that I was in for so long with my marriage, that I felt like, okay, I can really make decisions for my life without any type of fear of whatever, any type of abuse, or you know emotional abuse, verbal abuse. So I felt like that moment for me was probably the most memorable.
As someone who's taken a step back, if someone were to walk up to you and say, "I'm thinking about starting bodybuilding," what would be your advice to them?
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Are you doing it because you want to post really cool pictures on Instagram in hopes that you're going to get a bunch of followers and a sponsorship? Because that ain't going to happen. Or the likelihood is very slim. Are you doing it because you want to saw somebody on Instagram and you want to look like that? I bet you $200 those photos are edited. So not a good way. Like really, why? What are you looking to do? Is it really a personal thing that you want to just accomplish something and get in shape and do it the right way? Or are you looking to do it for the wrong reasons? And then also, are you mentally strong enough? I'd ask some questions around that because, yeah, I'm not going to be a really good champion. I feel like.
No, because you're an honest champion. That's why most other champions will be like, "Oh, it's the greatest sport ever. You really find yourself." And it's like, let's zoom to you just blowing your eyes off on the treadmill, contemplating your life, basically, where you're just like, "Why am I
Yeah,
doing this to myself?" And no one
yeah,
ever, shows that side of it. Which it's more, it's an extreme sport. If it wasn't extreme, more people would, probably do it. But I do need to think that there needs to be a way to, yeah, get rid of. I just if Instagram shut down for a couple of days, I think that would solve a lot of the fitness industry's problems as well. Because then I even
yeah.
made a poll where I said, like, what percent of people do you think would stop competing if Instagram just stopped existing? And like I did 10%, 25%, 50, 75. I think it was like 70% of the people that responded to it. It was like a couple thousand people responded to it, and like 70% of the people who responded to it was 50% or above. And I agree with that. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, yeah. People do it just for the social media aspect, and it's like, yikes.
Even now, the way that you look right now, do you still get looks and
Yeah,
people's extra attention, especially even though you don't have the Bible look, you still look in very great shape. But
yeah, just a little leaner and a little smaller. I feel like I typically, so I think on stage I weigh probably about 120, between 122, 125. And I sit right now between like 128 and 130. So I really haven't gained any. I'm still very lean. obviously my body's shifting. I think I train legs. I don't even know when the last I haven't even really been to the gym in the last like 3 weeks, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, no, I still do get looks. I still have my shoulders. Don't worry, they're still there. Um,
We can
but
still see
yeah,
them through the shirt. I was just about to ask you that too, because like that's one thing that just can't go away, and I honestly,
yeah, they're there.
you really just can't hide it. So
No,
that's just a problem to have, and especially when it comes to a lot of women, especially struggle with pull ups and chin ups. Were you some like when you first started? Were you just able to just rep them out, or did you have to? I know a lot of
no.
people that that have to work their way up to it. So how did you work your way up to it? Where now we're eventually at right now.
I was like, I'm just gonna do as many pull-ups as I possibly can, and when I think I can't do them anymore, I'm gonna do a few more. And I'm gonna do them every single day. And that's the key. Like, just like with anything, the more you do it, the better you're gonna get. Plus, not eating a bunch of crap and gaining a bunch of weight has played in my favor.
Yeah. It really does show. And do you ever, are there any destinations that you have planned for the next year? Like any set destinations, or are you just trying to see where you want to go?
Yeah, no, not right at this moment. My best friend and I, we were going to do Costa Rica in May, and that didn't pan out. And then we were thinking about Croatia in September. That didn't pan out. So we might have something in 2025. But yeah, so as of right now, no, I don't really have anything planned as of yet.
First of all, come up to Minnesota, but when you come up here, it only has to be between the months of June and August. Otherwise, you are going to absolutely hate it. We have the 3 month window where the weather is absolutely perfect. It is like idyllic to live, and then the rest of it just goes downhill. So anytime I tell
Yeah,
any guest, if you're ever going to visit up here, you visit in that 3 months. Even September can get a little risky. You never know September. It could be perfect weather, but then again, we could be getting, like 40 degrees and just cloudy, and don't even get me started on that. I'm trying not to bring up the weather
sounds
here.
terrible.
Oh my
Sounds
god, you
terrible.
don't even know the half of it. That's why bodybuilders that come from here, I have more respect for them, because if you have to prep during that cold weather, it's like
Oh,
good god, that is just, absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, Melody, I
yeah.
mean, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and talking to us. I mean, the view alone is just absolutely stunning. That is.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Have you seen any dolphins or anything like that out there?
No, no. Yesterday we spent the day like on the beach because it was super, super nice. Today it's a little overcast. I think it should be hopefully clearing up here around this afternoon. We're gonna head to Coronado and the dog beach, hang out over there for a bit. So, but no, I haven't seen any dolphins.
Please tell me
A
you
lot of
do
seals,
Please
sea
tell me you do
lions.
your stage walk when you're on the beach too, just to like show. I'd be doing that constantly. Like even though you don't compete anymore, I'd still get to walk in and just show it. But no, that's great, and I'm glad to see that you're still in a good space, because a lot of people that I've talked to, especially when they first stop competing, it's really really hard for them. And even if I talk to them like a year later, they're still struggling a lot. And it seems like you got the right head on your shoulders for this. And
Yeah,
I honestly think everyone, if you want to see a model of what someone can be outside of competing and just still in healthy and fit, I'd go and follow Melody. But she is private, everyone. But again, just go and find some way. I don't stalk her if you want. No, I'm kidding, everyone. But it's just, honestly, yeah, I think that you're a good model for people to look at and just realize that, like, hey, there is life outside this sport, because a lot of people get so wrapped up into it that they don't understand that. But again, you guys, Melody, thank you so much for coming back on. I really really appreciate it.
you got it. My pleasure.
All right, everyone. Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.